We're here to talk through the snake egg puzzle from Murat. It's pretty remarkable for just needing 2 clues to specify the whole grid given all the empty space seen here. And it's also remarkable in that it has a really fun logical path to it. We don't feature a lot of snake puzzles in the site because a lot of them require guesswork or tweaking to sort of stumble upon the unique solution. This one has an elegant way to get to the unique solution. That's what we'll talk about today. One of the things to always keep in mind with a snake puzzle, when the head and tail are close together, it often will isolate a whole bit of the region that you can't enter. Notice that any cell in the space, if the snake came in, it can't get out without touching the head and tail close together. Basically, if you come left here, if you come left again, that's the end of the snake. You come left here, come down here. You can't go right, can't come down, you'll close off the snake. These are unusable cells. With these as unusable cells, the 2 here can't connect to it. We can quickly get the snake started, like so. Every time we draw an extension of the snake, we should make sure that we've marked off orthogonal cells that are not part of the path as white. This cell can't be revisited by the snake in any way, so we can mark it right now as white. We actually have finished off an island. So when we finish off an island, let's mark the cells around it as part of the snake. And when we get something like on an edge here, we need to actually have the snake turn. This cell here, where 3 of 4 in a 2x2 block are already part of the snake, the 4th can't be. If it comes here, you'll get orthogonal touching. So we can actually extend the snake like so. That makes all of these as white cells, again, because they're orthogonal to the snake path. Now, the fun thing Murat's put in this puzzle is this clue here, which means we actually can't leave these 5 white cells unextended. That would put 2 5s in the grid, and we need a single unused space of size 5, so this has to be another unused cell so that this region grows. You'll see that it's now formed a 9. And the 9 being the largest size we can have means that we have now fully specified that shape. So we can mark the pieces just around it. We actually get I can't do this instant until I actually say, well, this snake edge has to escape. It has just 2 cells left it can take. So it takes them. We get these edges in. Get to here. Found the 2, we found the 9. The next kind of deduction to think about has to do with just general crowding of the regions. The snake has to be able to pass to the right side. These 2 ends don't want to touch together, so what you have to sort of imagine in mind, let's sort of just assume a snake shape. To actually pass to the right, we need to have a row where the snake exists, a white space gap, and then another row where the snake exists. We have exactly 3 rows to do that in, which is the very limit this kind of scenario can have. So in order for the snake to pass from the left side to the right side of the grid, it has to use these cells I've just marked. Let me get rid of the highly speculative guess, but in thinking about path shapes, sometimes I just want to trace something down there. But this is how, in the bottom, the snake has to go. There's no other way for the snake to get from the left side to the right side. Having marked these in the grid, the next kind of snake deduction I'll make has to do with thinking about the 5 up here, and it has to do with a general rule with snake puzzles, which is any time a snake approaches a border, it has to take at least 3 cells on the border before turning back. It can't just take 2. What that means is, while you might think that there's some shape like this for this island, the snake itself can't take just 2 along this border. It has to take 3 cells if it visits the border at all. Notice that if all of these are unused by the snake, this 5 region is actually as large as 11 cells. That's not going to happen. So the snake has to take at least 3 cells on the border. It must take these 2 to get a group of size 3. That means it has to take this root around the corner, like so. Okay, there are now a few distinct places we can make some progress, but the place that I had the most luck with was looking down in this corner. And it has to do right now with recognizing the snake is pretty constrained and it doesn't have enough space to loop back on itself. Looping back typically requires 5 cells in any given dimension. What it means is from this point here to this point there, the snake will only come up or come left. It will never take a right turn or a downwards turn. If this is the path from here to here, coming up and to the left, we can quickly reduce some cells as just impossible to be visited by that path. For instance, this cell in the corner, if the snake came and took, would leave behind 8 plus 3, 11 or more cells is not visited. That has to be a white cell. This now is a choke point. The snake must come through this or there's no way for these ends to join. Having marked this in, the next place we may want to think about is a cell like this being shaded. If it is shaded, we're going to get a group of 6 up here. It can't gain another for this. It would take it to 10. So if it's shaded, this whole snake takes this shape. Critically, it leaves behind 2 cells. We've already filled in a 2-cell group. So this can't be used by the snake because the requirements for it would actually repeat a size of a white region. So it tells us this. We now have one of the interesting considerations of this puzzle, again because we have a 5 clue, now a 9 clue grown. This cell itself would add 1 to this region of size 4. Adding this would add 4 more to the total size. So if this is not used, we get a region of size 5, which is no good. It's already over there, which means we need to take another cell, and take another cell gives us a region of size 9, which is no good. So if you include this in the group, you can't make a valid shape. You have to have the snake take that cell. Now this gets us a group of size 3 and a group of size 4, and we have 2 possible places for the snake to go. Notice if the snake is in this cell, it's going to leave behind 2 regions, both of size 4. That's also not possible. So we're going to come here and make an 8 and a 3. That's probably the hardest step right now in the puzzle to do, but working through this corner was pretty critical. Notice that because this was 8, we had the snake bending around. The snake up here is going to bend around. We get our unit of size 1. This of size 1 has to grow. This of size 1 has to grow. This is now a size 2. We have a 2. We have a 3. So this has to grow at least to here. This is still a size 2, still a size 3. This needs to grow, but we can comfortably get to here before we have to think of something more. Now the way to finish out the puzzle is to think about this stretch of cells. It's going to be a 6 or a 7, but notice if it stays as a 6, the snake coming like this actually brings all of these as white, and now this region grows very large. So this is a 7, and it's going to take exactly 1 of these remaining cells to become 7 large. There are some cells you should recognize it can't take. If it just takes this one, that requires these to all be part of the snake. The snake is now required to branch. So this is a cell that must be part of the snake. You'll recognize that after you take this cell, the cell just below it has to be part of the snake. We can do a similar deduction to say that this topmost cell can't be the extra one it takes, because in that circumstance, the snake is going to do this. The 5 comes down and then takes all these remaining cells as white. That's not going to be any good. So do something like this. We take one of these 2 cells. This requires the snake to be in both of these cells. We don't yet know exactly how it bends, but it's sometimes helpful to make this kind of diagonal connectivity. One of these will get shaded, and then one of these two will get shaded. But what we can mark is that the 5 needs to extend down to those cells. Snake is here, these snakes don't want to touch. We've actually filled out all 5 cells. So this is how the snake went. This is how it turns back to get 7 cells. This is unused. This is our 4. And that is our 6. And we've marked all the regions and solved the puzzle. I hope you learned a little bit about snake puzzles in general. Maybe you can intuit some things from my notation here. Typically I actually won't shade, I'll just draw the lines, but for the purposes of the filming I felt it would be easier to sort of do both, sort of leave a lasting image for you to see. Hope you enjoyed this talk through, and we'll see you again soon.